The night was quiet when the Harpers moved into their new home, an old Victorian house standing tall at the edge of town, its windows dark and empty like hollow eyes. The air carried the smell of dust and old wood, the kind of scent that told stories of time long gone. On their first evening, while unpacking boxes, little Emily Harper wandered up the creaking staircase to the attic. The door was stiff, reluctant to open, but her small hands forced it just enough to slip inside. The attic was cold. Moonlight filtered through a cracked window, illuminating stacks of forgotten furniture and covered trunks. And there, on a wooden chair in the corner, sat a doll. It was porcelain, dressed in faded lace, its glassy blue eyes shining faintly in the dim light. Dust clung to its curls, but somehow it looked as though it had been waiting. Emily gasped in delight. "Mommy, look what I found!" she shouted, her tiny footsteps echoing. Her mother, Claire, climbed up, frowning the moment she saw it. The doll felt wrong. Its stare too lifelike, its smile too sharp. "Emily, honey, let's leave that here. It's old and dirty," Claire said quickly. But Emily clutched it tightly against her chest, shaking her head. "No, she's mine. She was waiting for me." Her words sent a chill through Claire, but she didn't argue. They had enough to worry about with the move. If a dusty doll made Emily happy, then so be it. That night, as boxes remained unopened and the family settled in, the doll sat on Emily's nightstand. Its glass eyes caught the moonlight through the window, watching silently. And in the stillness of the house, when everyone else was asleep, the faint sound of a giggle drifted through the attic. The Harper house was never truly silent. Old wood groaned with every gust of wind, and pipes rattled in the walls. But within days of Emily bringing the porcelain doll into her room, the sounds changed. Claire was the first to notice. At night, when the house settled, she heard faint tapping, like porcelain fingers drumming softly on wood. She would check on Emily, only to find the child fast asleep, the doll perched neatly on her nightstand, always facing the bed. One morning, Claire entered Emily's room to wake her for school. She froze. The doll was no longer on the nightstand. It was tucked neatly beneath the blanket, resting beside Emily, as though it had been cradled there all night. "Emily, did you put the doll here?" Claire asked carefully. Her daughter shook her head, yawning. "No, she climbed in by herself." Claire's heart skipped. "What do you mean?" Emily smiled, as though it were the simplest thing in the world. "She talks to me at night. She said she doesn't like to be alone. She said she likes me." Claire forced a laugh, but inside she was trembling. She tried to take the doll away that morning, but Emily cried and screamed until she returned it. The little girl's grip was fierce, possessive, unlike anything Claire had seen before. That night, Claire and her husband Mark woke to the sound of giggles echoing through the hallway. Emily's laughter, but layered with another, softer voice. A voice that didn't belong to their daughter. Mark rushed to the bedroom, threw open the door, and found Emily sitting cross-legged on the floor. The doll sat opposite her, propped up unnaturally straight. "Emily, who are you talking to?" Mark demanded. Emily turned her head slowly. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "She has secrets. She told me things about you, Daddy." Mark's blood ran cold. The doll's glassy blue eyes gleamed in the moonlight. The next day, Claire couldn't shake the chill Emily's words had left behind. She watched her daughter at breakfast, Emily's small hands stroking the doll's faded lace dress, whispering as if confiding secrets. It was no longer just a toy.
it felt like something more. Later that afternoon, Claire stepped outside to greet their neighbor, Mrs. Whitmore, a woman in her 70s who had lived in Brookfield her entire life. When Claire mentioned the attic and the doll they had found, Mrs. Whitmore's smile vanished. "You found it?" she whispered, her hand trembling against the fence. "Found what?" Claire asked, uneasy. "The doll," the old woman said firmly. "It belonged to a girl who lived in your house long ago." She told the story in a hushed voice. Decades earlier, a young girl named Annabelle had lived there. She was quiet, shy, and often played alone. Her only companion was the porcelain doll her father had brought back from overseas. But then, strange things began to happen. Objects moved, whispers filled the rooms, and Annabelle, herself, started acting different, darker. One night, she disappeared. Some said she drowned in the creek behind the house, though her body was never found. Others believed her spirit had never left at all, that it lingered, bound to the doll she loved so dearly. Claire felt her throat tighten. "Are you saying this doll is haunted?" Mrs. Whitmore's eyes glistened with fear. "I'm saying that no one who's kept that doll has ever lived in peace. Families moved out. Some left in the middle of the night and never returned. If your daughter has it now," she leaned closer, lowering her voice, "you must get rid of it, before it takes her too." Claire returned inside, heart racing, and found Emily waiting at the top of the stairs. The doll clutched in her arms. Emily tilted her head and whispered with a voice that didn't sound like her own, "She told you about Annabelle, didn't she?"
Emily was no longer the same little girl. At first, it was subtle. She grew quiet, distant, her once bright laughter replaced with long stretches of silence. She spent hours locked in her room, whispering to the doll as though carrying out private conversations. But soon, it became impossible to ignore. Claire walked in one evening to find Emily sitting in front of the mirror. The doll was propped on her lap, its glassy eyes staring back. Emily's own reflection was wrong. Her lips moved slowly, deliberately, but her eyes did not blink. Claire froze. "Emily, sweetheart, what are you doing?" Her daughter turned, a smile twisting her small face. The voice that came out was not Emily's. It was higher, older, laced with malice. "She says, I don't need you anymore." The doll's head shifted ever so slightly in Claire's direction, though no hand touched it. Claire's heart pounded as she stumbled back, whispering, "Mark, come here!" When her husband rushed in, Emily's smile vanished, replaced with wide, innocent eyes. "Mommy? Daddy? Why are you scared?" she asked sweetly, clutching the doll close. But when she thought they weren't looking, her gaze grew cold again, calculating, ancient. Over the next days, things escalated. Claire and Mark would wake to the sound of small footsteps pacing the halls at 3 a.m., only to find Emily asleep in bed, the doll resting beside her with its dress caked in mud. Mark tried to throw the doll into the trash one night, driving it out of town to leave at the dump, but by morning, it was back, sitting upright at the kitchen table. Its porcelain lips seemed to curl into a grin. And Emily? Emily no longer asked permission for anything. She glared, she shouted, her voice dripping with venom no child should possess. "You can't take her away from me," she hissed one night, clutching the doll tightly. "She says you're weak. She says I belong to her now." And in that moment, Claire realized it wasn't just her imagination. The doll wasn't haunting the house anymore. It was inside their daughter.
Desperation had consumed Claire and Mark. Emily was slipping further away each day, her small frame moving with jerky, unnatural motions, her laughter echoing like glass shattering. At times, her voice wasn't even her own. It layered, multiple tones speaking at once. Claire begged Mark, "We can't go to the police. We can't go to a doctor. They'll think we're insane. But I found something that might help." Hidden in the old library archives, Claire had discovered a passage about cursed objects, particularly dolls used in binding rituals. The text spoke of severing the bond through fire, salt, and blood. That night, after Emily had finally fallen asleep clutching the doll, they carried both her and the toy to the basement. Candles flickered, casting long, uneasy shadows. A circle of salt surrounded them. Mark's hands shook as he read from the faded, yellowed page Claire had copied. "Bound by spirit, bound by pain, release this soul, break the chain." Emily's eyes flew open, black, bottomless voids. The doll trembled in her arms. "You can't take me from her," the voice screeched, overlapping Emily's small cry. The air grew heavy. The candles guttered violently. The walls groaned like the house itself was suffocating. Claire knelt, tears streaming, clutching Emily's shoulders. "Fight it, baby, please! You're stronger than her!" Emily shrieked, her tiny body thrashing against the salt circle. The doll's porcelain face cracked down the middle, a jagged smile splitting wider. The words from the ritual book spilled from Mark's lips faster, louder, desperate. The flame of each candle bent toward Emily and the doll, as though the house itself demanded the offering. Then it happened. Emily let out a piercing scream, collapsing to the floor. The doll dropped from her arms, landing in the salt with a hollow thud. Its glassy eyes no longer shone. For the first time in weeks, Emily looked like herself, exhausted, frightened, but herself. Mark grabbed the doll, dousing it with salt, and threw it into the fireplace. The porcelain cracked, black smoke curling up the chimney, filling the room with the stench of burning hair and rot. They thought it was over. But as the last shard of porcelain melted in the flames, Claire heard it, so faint she thought it was in her head, a whisper slithering through the smoke. "You only freed her body, not her soul." And in that moment, Claire knew this was not the end. For a few days, the Harper household felt lighter. Emily's cheeks regained color. Her laughter sounded like a child's again, not the shrill, broken echo of something else. The doll was gone, reduced to ash and smoke. But relief never lasts long in a cursed house. It started small. Claire would walk past a mirror and swear she saw a porcelain face over her shoulder. Mark heard faint footsteps pacing the attic when no one was there. And at night, Emily would wake screaming, clutching her chest, whispering, "She's inside me now!" One stormy evening, as thunder rolled across the sky, Claire went to check on Emily. She froze in the doorway. Emily was sitting on the edge of her bed, head bowed, humming an old lullaby Claire didn't recognize. "Sweetheart?" Claire whispered. Emily looked up slowly. Her eyes glimmered. Not black this time, but glassy, reflective, like porcelain. Her lips curled into a smile that was not her own.
"You burned my doll," the voice said, layered and cruel, spilling from Emily's small mouth. "So I found a new one." The bedroom light flickered violently, then died, plunging the house into darkness. Claire stumbled backwards, screaming for Mark, but her voice drowned under Emily's giggle, the same one they had first heard in the attic. Outside, the storm howled. Inside, the Harper home echoed with the sound of tiny, porcelain feet running across wooden floors. The doll was gone, but the spirit had chosen to stay. And from that night on, the house was never silent again.